Hi everybody, so today I'm going to do a review of A Woman After God's Own Heart Bible. So this one is in the New King James. The general editor is Elizabeth George, so you may know who she is. This one is done by Kregel Publications. There's our ISBN number. They call this one Satin Tone Floral. They also have another option as well, which I'll show you in just a moment. This one retails for $54.99. You can find it for less online. And so I'll leave this right here in case you would like to pause and read this top section, and then we'll take a quick look at some of those features. So this one's going to have some highlighted verses, which that's kind of neat. We've got biographies, book introductions. Each book will have what they call main truths. We've got topical reflections, practical coaching. So really neat stuff, and we'll see all of that inside the Bible. There's some information about Elizabeth George right there. There's a picture of her. So it comes in a nice two-piece box. So this one here measures out at 9.5 inches tall by 6.5 inches wide, and it is 1 3/4 inches thick. So we've got white head and tail bands, white ribbon marker, nice looking silver gilding on there. The back section on this, I'm not sure what kind of material it is, but it kind of has a like a rubberized feel. So this section is really grippy, so it's actually really nice, and you can kind of hear that texture on there. On the spine, we've got A Woman After God's Own Heart Bible, NKJV, and Kregel. Then on the front, we've got that same gray section with some stitching, and then we get into that satin as far as the satin floral. So this area here, I'm glad that they have that on the front because that's pretty grippy. This section, if it was this on both front and back, it might be pretty slippery. But they've got these two sections all stitched together, which looks really nice. That floral looks really good on there. I'm not sure what type of material it is, whether or not it's just a printed paper or like a vinyl. I'm not really sure. So, a little bit different on that cover. So, not really sure on the material, but I really like the feel of this gray. So on the inside, we're going to have just a paper paste down liner, which is going to be very typical. And one thing we can see right off the bat is the Bible is going to lay flat for us right off the bat. So before we get into this one, this is the other cover option. I do have a full review of this one that I did about a year or so ago. So I'll link this one in the description box as well. But this one, that's what the cover on that one looks like. So depending on what type of cover design you prefer, there's going to be those different options. Plus there's other cover options as well. So I'll show you that when we look at this one here. So we've got our paper paste down liner. And all of the different highlights and stuff in this one is going to be in that same pink color. So there are the different cover options right there. Alright, so we're going to have our contents page. We're going to have a list of all the biographies of the women that are in this one. Then we've got an invitation to become a woman after God's own heart. So this is actually really nice. If you read this, I would definitely recommend reading all of these because I like the way she writes and it's just good information. And then we're going to get into the features. So we're going to have introductions to each book of the Bible. It gives us an example, and then we've got all these little truths for you section, which are going to be within every book of the Bible. We're going to have, so we'll have like 2-page spreads of biographies of women in the Bible, and then we've got little snapshots of like lesser known women in the Bible. We're going to have God's wisdom on life's challenges, and I really like these features. Then we've got smaller God's whispers of wisdom, and a lot of times those are just going to be in a smaller section of the Bible, just like in a little corner of the page. We've got daily devotional readings, which that I really like. The highlighted verses, so that's pretty neat. Then we get into what is the Bible. And the paper, I'm not sure what type of paper they use in this, but it has a really nice feel to it, and you don't get any ghosting. Even though the whole Bible is not completely line matched, You don't have any distractions in this one, so I really like that. So we're going to have some pages looking for answers. So it's going to say, you know, like where can you go for wisdom, for answers, and where you can go is to God. And so there's going to be examples for, like the Bible has answers for struggling with, and we've got here, it starts with emotional health. So there's different topics that it goes through. And then we've got home and family. So all of this stuff is really, really relevant. So it's going to be very helpful for all different stages. And so this one's perfect for that because it talks about life stages. And we all go through these different life stages. So it's pretty neat. And then this section is on married life. So that's going to pertain to a lot of you out there. We've got relationships, spiritual life, and kingdom involvement. And then we're going to have a preface to the New King James, and then we get right into the Old Testament. So I like the color that they did on here because that looks nice with the writing and then with that floral on the background. And then one thing that I did want to show you is the stitching. So really nice sewn binding, so it's going to hold up for you. So that is really nice, and we're barely getting into the Bible and it's laying totally flat for us. So that's really nice. So this is an example of how the book introductions are going to be. So this one is going to be for Genesis. It's going to be a 2-page spread. So we're going to have a theme, date written, the author, and the setting. There's that if you would like to pause and read that book introduction. And then we've got a where to find it section. So some of the main stories in the Bible and where to find those. Each one has a nice quote on there, which I really like those. And then each one's also going to have a finding God's heart. So I really like the way that they've done this one. Very nicely done Bible. So we're going to get into the biblical text. We're going to have a double column format. So our chapter numbers, our books, as far as on the top of the pages, books and chapters, our page numbers will all be in that same pink. The rest of the text in here is just going to be in the black. So I'll get you up a little bit closer. So it's a 9-point font, really, really readable, even though 9's not considered big. The paper in this one is really good, and so I think that really helps in being able to read this. So this is going to be our daily devotion. So that is going to be day 1. So you're going to have, like this one is the beginning of a new life. So it's going to start in Genesis 1:1. We'll have that full devotion. You could probably pause and read that if you would like. And then we're going to have a read the Bible in 1 year. So it'll tell you what to read. But then what's nice is it tells you where the next devotion is. So it's going to tell us to go to page 10 for the next one. And then here's our next devotion. So I like the way that they do that. They're not super long, so nice and short. You can definitely read that in a day, which I really like. And then we've got our little smaller sections. So there's going to be a ton of these. Like I think it says over 400. So it's really nice. Like this one is on the power of prayer. And then we get into one of the 2-page spreads as far as one of the biographies. So this one is going to be on Eve. So that's really neat. And then we're also going to have a ton of smaller ones that are going to be little short ones like this one here. So we've got 2 of them right there. So those are just little short profiles of women versus the 2-page spreads. But you can see that there's going to be a lot of stuff in here. And then we've got some of our highlighted verses. So I'm going to flip through and show you some of the things that I kind of thought were neat. So this page on the God's Wisdom's on, this one is on commitment to prayer. Then it gives you a little idea of how to set up your special prayer book. So I think that's really neat. And then cultivating a heart committed to prayer. So a lot of the stuff in here, I really, really like the way that they've done this one. So here's another one on prayer. And then they've got different steps to like developing your prayer life. So really, really helpful on all of these. And so I'm going to kind of go through this kind of quickly because I don't want this video to be super long. This one is on discipline. So it gives you all the different steps. It also references scripture. And even though, like I said, even though this isn't 100% line match, and a lot of it is, and I don't know if it just happens to be, but you don't get any distractions at all when you read it. I mean, I can see a little bit on the camera, but when you look at this with the naked eye, you don't see anything on there. And I'm pretty sure that this Bible paper would take really well to writing on. So this one's on managing your life. So just really, really good and pertinent information. This one's on appearance. So then we've got each book is going to end with the truths for each book. So I think that's really neat. This one is on profession and priorities. So I find that the stuff that's in this one is going to be relevant to women of all ages. And the devotions are nice because they're short. And all of these little snippets of information on there, they're short, they're helpful. I mean, they're all relevant, which that I really like. This one is on purpose, talking about where to be salt and where to be light, where to make a difference. But a really nice Bible for women. So if you are a woman and you're looking for a new Bible, this would be a great one to look at. If you're a man and you're looking to find a Bible for your woman, again, this would be a great one. So this one is on the Proverbs 31 women. So really neat the way that they lay those out. So this one is on peace amidst chaos. So definitely relevant. This one's on just forget it. So God doesn't want circumstances and events of our life to weigh us down with guilt or bitterness. So that's a really good devotion there. So you're going to have a devotion that's not super long for every day of the year. So it's definitely easy to read those. This one is on finances, which I think a lot of people could probably do better on. And then it ends with the truths in each one of those. So another example of one of the book introductions and how each one has kind of a quote in there, which I really like that. And I'm really surprised on how nice the paper is in this one, because it's just, you don't have a lot of distractions at all in it. So this one we're going to have a profile on Elizabeth, and then right on the next page we've got one on Mary. So that's kind of neat that we've got both those 2-page spreads right next to each other. We're going to have one ribbon marker. It is a double-sided satin and it's white, so it goes really pretty with this Bible. But one of the most impressive things is how nice the paper is in this and how easy it is to read, because you just don't get the distractions that you normally would in a Bible. So this is a good example section where you've got one of your devotions. This is a short little article on the spiritual sustenance, but then we've got some of those highlighted verses, which is pretty neat. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of flip through and read just the highlighted verses. That's kind of fun to do sometimes. But I like the devotions in this. They did a really good job. Those just all seem to be happening to open up right on those particular pages. So when we get to the end of Revelation, we've got our last devotional, the last truths for you from Revelation. And then we get into the Read Your Bible in a Year reading plan. And if you follow the devotions, it's going to tell you what sections to read. Gives you the little boxes if you did want to check those off. And then we get to the end and we've got a page with all of our source material. So here are some books that are done by Elizabeth George. So I'm going to get you closer so you can read those in case you want to take a screenshot and maybe check out some of those. So then there's also a book called A Couple After God's Own Heart. So that might be interesting. Then we just get right to the end of the Bible. So pretty Bible. If you like floral, you may really like that color. Again, there's also this other cover option, which I'll pull out and set it next to it. Both of them are going to have the silver on the page edges. So I'll also link the review to this one in the description box as well. So here is the ISBN number for the floral. Then I'll give you a shot of the ISBN for that teal colored one. That way you can see both of those. Both in the New King James are done by Kregel, but really a nice Bible for women. And one of my favorite things, like I have said multiple times, is the paper in this, because you don't get any distractions whatsoever when you're reading from this Bible. So if you like the New King James and you're looking for a new Bible, I would definitely maybe look into one of these. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.